fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Why you become what you tolerate. Why your family will become what you tolerate. Why your church will become what you tolerate. Why your communities will become what you tolerate, and why your legal system, our legal system, becomes what we tolerate, right? We've encouraged people to take literally no responsibility and to blame others anytime something happens to them, even if we are just completely in the wrong and get hurt, and the lawyer says, well, hey, you know, you could win some money and sue them because they got deep pockets. I mean, we've tolerated all of this stuff. Look at our political system. We've tolerated so much for so long, and now look at the slippery slope we're on. I mean, there isn't anything nice about the political system. It's everyone hating each other. There's so much slander and talk and backstabbing and just this greed and this power struggle of, oh, I want this and I want that and you're wrong and you're an idiot. I mean, it is so sad what's become of our entire country, and it's all because we've let it happen. We've tolerated it. So, hey, everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, went on a quick little rampage there. It was supposed to be just a couple of second intro, but I got a little carried away. This is something it's been on my mind a lot, and I've spent a lot of time, especially when I'm driving back and forth from Winter Haven to St. Pete, go to see Luke and fish with him. I think about all this and more importantly, what I could do about it, right? It's one thing to sit there and get on social media and be mad about something or disagree the way things are going in this country, and maybe just it's a feeling. Maybe you're seeing legitimate stuff in your city. Maybe it's with your kids, the school system, the political system, whatever it is. Maybe you're just sick and tired of it. And yet we all kind of, complain. Maybe we talk to our spouses or our boyfriends, girlfriends, just some of our friends and community or Bible group, whoever it might be. And yet most of us don't do too much about it. And that's part of tolerating stuff, right? And so let me tell you where I got this quote. I wish it was mine, but it's something that I'm now thinking about all the time. We are debating as a company, Salt Strong, and for you insider members, we're going to be asking you for your feedback on this, and don't jump the gun yet and say, oh, this is a bad idea or good idea. But one thought we had, because a lot of people have said, gosh, it'd be really cool if we had a whole lot more posts in our insider community. Our community, or really our club, is part community. It's part how-to and part on-the-water tips, and then, of course, it's part tackle in our discounts. And no one really comes in for the community, and just be honest with you. Most people come in because of tackle discounts or because of how-to, because of knowledge. They want to save time and find the feeding zone faster. They want to catch more fish in less time. So that's why people come in, but they're sticking around because the community, it's so helpful and it's positive, and we don't allow cursing. Like, you literally can't curse. It would delete your word. Because we built this thing from scratch. And so it's super positive, so helpful. It's an amazing community. It's everything I wish was around when we started getting serious about fishing. It's truly amazing. And so people say, well, gosh, it'd be cool if maybe we invited someone and don't give them access to the discounts. Don't give them access to on the water reports. Don't give them access to the spot dissections. Don't give them access to basically all the best stuff, right? Just let them be in the community so we have just, more engagement. It's a way to recruit people. And so one of our members, one of our insider members, is actually the president of LinkedIn China, like big deal, became quite wealthy, I'm sure, when Microsoft bought out LinkedIn, because he was the president of all of LinkedIn for China. And he ended up moving over to America and has a second house here on the water and really wanted to become an angler. And so he's one of our members, and he sent me the book from the LinkedIn founder about scaling and kind of more importantly, scaling platforms and online communities. And I'm reading this story about an app you might know or maybe even used in the past called Tinder. Now, for some of you, the second I say Tinder, you conjure up, probably some negative connotations, right? Tinder became kind of this, I'm being very nice when I just say a dating app. It became kind of a hookup app. It was the swipe right, I think it was. That was, it was basically where a lot of younger people and older people, but mostly in that college scene and kind of, that 24 to 30-year-old kind of single person was going to basically hook up. And what's interesting is Tinder didn't start that way. And I did not know that. I'm hearing the CEO's, the founder's story. And it started off as a great app, and then some people started hooking up, and it kind of got like, maybe let's just say 10-20% of all the interactions were what we now know as Tinder. And guess what? They had to make a decision right then and there. And she said, we even had meetings about this. Like, you know what, do we want to allow this? Or, do we want to just, say, you know what, we don't tolerate this, right? We're not going to tolerate it. And we're not going to have this hookup be part of who we are and what we do. And they went the other way. They saw the money and they saw the opportunity, and they kind of got a little bit greedy, I'm just guessing from how it was written. And it sounds like they said, you know what, we're just going to let this slide, right? It's not that big of a deal. And it was, if you know the story, Tinder got really big and it became the hookup place, and the nice people left it because it just became a place for, kind of sloppy hookups late at night. And the CEO finally left and was embarrassed. I mean, literally embarrassed, because she wanted something that was special, something that people could go, create lasting relationships, not one night stands, which is what Tinder became. And in the book, she says, you know what, it was the one lesson I learned out of all of it, the big one, at least, was you become what you tolerate. And she goes, we tolerated it, and shame on us. We all of a sudden became it. Next thing you know, it happened pretty quickly. And she actually went on, there's a kind of a good part of the story here. She literally walked away from Tinder, like just disgusted, left, adios, I'm out, and started a new dating site for women that put the women first and was 100% focused on lasting long-term relationships, and has done incredibly well. And so she learned so much about, what you are, what you tolerate. And it's the same reason we don't allow cursing in our community. It's the same reason we don't allow negativity and belittling in our community. It's because it's a slippery slope, and it seems to happen really fast. And you do become what you tolerate. So now let's just start with our legal system, right? We've essentially, we weren't always like this, right? I mean, for you older people who've been around a while, it wasn't always like that. There wasn't a lawyer on every single street corner. And I'm not trying to bash lawyers. There's amazing lawyers out there, and a lot of them do a great service. We have to hire them ourselves. But there's also, some that are, might not add as much value and probably raise the cost for all of us on a lot of things. And just look at what we've basically tolerated is we've now encouraged people to literally take no responsibility for anything that they do, right? It's so quick. It's almost like, oh gosh, I got in an accident, I slipped and fell, completely my fault, right? And they have money, we can sue them. And so we've now encouraged, our whole legal system has encouraged people to take no responsibility for anything they ever do. And it's just so much easier to go blame others. Even if, we're too fat, right? We're 480 pounds and we're going to go blame it on McDonald's. And there's been lawsuits like that, right? I mean, we all shake our heads at the lawsuits where someone breaks into a house, gets hurt on their way out of like breaking out of the window because someone turns the light on and they run out the window and get cut up, and they sue the homeowner. Right. And a couple times the homeowner has been guilty because they had something that wasn't up to code or so. It's ridiculous. Yet we've tolerated that. And that's who we've become as a society. A very litigious society I'm going to leave it at that because we all know that. And it drives me absolutely nuts just what we've become as a society and how no one seems to want to take any responsibility for anything they do anymore, or how we treat our bodies, et cetera. And now let's talk about the political system, right? I mean, look at all the stuff that we're dealing with here. We've got two sides that can't agree on anything. We have everything has become political. Everything's become negative, and it's who we've become now. I can only imagine every country is out there looking at us like laughing, and it's because we have tolerated this for so long. We've tolerated, back in the day, they used to have nice debates, right? And yeah, there's always been a little bit of going back and forth and maybe a couple low blows. That's been around for a long time, but over the past really 30 years, we've tolerated all of this I'm talking nonsense, and just 100% full on negative bashing. I mean, I'm talking just backstabbing and smear campaigns. And now, if you want to get in the political scene, you have to go hire smear campaign experts. There's literally people that do this for a living. I read one of the guy's books. It's actually pretty fascinating. But he's like, you know what? I've realized this is the expert who literally gets hired to help people win elections. And he's like, it's all negative. You literally go after it and you dig up as much dirt as possible on the other person and you literally just smear them to death. That's the number one way to win a campaign. And that's so sad. That's so sad. And we wonder why we've become so negative as a country, why everything that we see on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, wherever you might hang it online, it's become so one-sided and so negative. And if you disagree with me, then you're an idiot and you're a knucklehead and I don't like you anymore. I did that one podcast that was one of the most downloaded podcasts I had about us versus them. We've become that because that's what we've tolerated. We've let everything just kind of slide and say, oh yeah, you know what, it's okay. And so now here we are, as communities and as leaders of your family, whether you're a male or a female, you're a leader of your family. You've got someone looking up to you in business. I'm willing to bet you have someone looking up to you somewhere along the way. And so much of this is going to be up to us, right? How our kids behave and how our family reacts, right? And if you're the kind of person that all of a sudden you wake up one day and your kids are gone and they don't want to talk to you anymore. And you're like, gosh, you know what? We never once had a sit down dinner and actually just talked about the day and asked how they were doing. And we were guilty of that for a while. For a while, we'd sit there with the TV on. We all having our own little dinners and I'd be barely even talking. And I was like, what are we doing? And it's pretty quick how all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, man, I've tolerated this and it's become a slippery slope. So I encourage you, if you're not happy with something and maybe just looking around your surroundings, then start making a change. I think over the next few years, especially, we are going to have to stand up, both as Christians, right? I mean, if we tolerate as Christians and people who believe in God and Jesus, if we start just tolerating, oh yeah, let's let them talk trash on us and let's let them tear down our churches and, take away. I mean, it's right. Stuff's like crazy. Who would have thought we'd be tearing down old statues? Like that, to me, that's the most laughable thing in the world. How are we possibly going to get better in the future by just tearing down the past? Why don't we work on ourselves in the present and the future instead of going down and tearing down anything in the past? It makes absolutely no sense, but it could just as easily happen if we sit there and tolerate all this. And next thing you know, hey, you know what? Let's just take down all churches. And now, people can't meet on Sundays. And now, you can't go to church. And everything's underground. I mean, this has happened in other countries. There's countries where you cannot sit there and read a Bible. There's some countries out there that there are Christians who are absolutely persecuted and even killed, right? And that's because we've become what we tolerate. Those people have become what they tolerate. And all of a sudden, we could go from what seems to be a pretty happy, pretty much for the most part, well-oiled machine in terms of a civilization where we're all getting along and we're still able to go to church and to pray and to have family time and to honestly just do what's right. And all of a sudden that can be taken away from us if we continue just to tolerate just crap, in my opinion. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about here. And I'm not going to try to get political because I don't think that's what we're called to do with this Unchurched, at least not yet. I so many times I've prayed over it and so many times I've wanted to do a sermon. I just haven't done it yet. But I think for at least right now, this one right here, regardless of where you stand and regardless of where you believe, and if you made it this far, you're probably pretty passionate about something and you probably have a pretty deep set belief system and you probably have an idea of what a great family looks like to you and what a great church looks like to you, what a great community looks like to you and a great family life looks like to you and a great business looks like to you. And really just what a great life looks like to you. And if you're not feeling we're going down that path, it could be something because of that we've let slide, that we've let it just kind of go too long and we've just kind of, we'll tolerate that. And you know what, it won't be too bad. And then one day we wake up and we're the next tender, right? That everything's fallen apart and we've become something that we never intended for to happen. And this has happened so many times when you end up tolerating something and just kind of ignoring it and turning your back to it and hoping and praying it gets better. And I have a feeling we are going to have to probably stand up as Christians and even just as Americans and probably end up having to stand up over the next couple of years and just say, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. We're not going to tolerate being pushed around and having taxes raised why, politicians don't. I mean, there's just so much corruption and so much greed and so many things that we're all seeing happening around us every single day. And we kind of tolerate it. I mean, I do personally. And I don't know, I've just spent so much time thinking about this. And I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think, that we could do. Where are some action steps that we could take as a society, as a community, as Christians in particular, right? I mean, this is the reason I do Unchurched. I believe it's incredibly, incredibly important for us to use our platform to bring people closer to God and closer to Jesus. And it could be if we just keep tolerating one way, and all of a sudden I wake up one day and I'm told I can't do Unchurched anymore, right? Or they're going to shut the whole thing down. I don't know who they is, but this kind of stuff has happened in the past, and I'm fearful for it. The same point, also excited that God is probably going to use a lot of us to do some pretty big things, and to finally at some point put our foot down and say, you know what, we are going to stand up for what's right, and we're going to do what's right no matter what it takes, no matter who's there and who says they're going to shut us down. We're going to stand up and do what's right. So once again, I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Joe at saltstrong.com. Shoot me a message. I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have, anything that I could be doing to pray over you, any future topics along these lines, any guest. I haven't had a guest in a while, and it's been kind of on my list to do, and I just haven't had that one yet that I was like, I really just want to get this person on. But if you have someone that you think would be an amazing guest, I would love to hear from you. Joe at saltstrong.com. And just remember, keep this one thing in the back of your head, and this applies to all aspects of your life. You become what you tolerate.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul, it was pain.